Hello and welcome to Excel Formulas and Functions. My name is Randy. I am an e-library specialist with the Jacksonville Public Library, and I'll be your instructor for this session. So using formulas and functions is one of the most common things people use Excel for, and is a fundamental part of using Excel. Maybe you want to calculate a budget for your household or small business, or you want to sum up the number of volunteer hours at your organization. You'll need to know how to write formulas and use functions to figure those out. Creating formulas is easy, but it may take a bit of getting used to if you haven't done it before. So what this class will cover is first how to write a basic Excel formula to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Second, when writing a formula, what a cell reference is and why use it. And then we'll talk about how to copy a formula using what's called a fill handle. And then how to use a basic Excel function, such as sum or average. And we'll go into a live demonstration to do all of that. So here I am in Excel. And first let me explain what an Excel formula is. Basically, it's just a math problem that we want Excel to calculate or solve for us. So here I have 4 math problems that I'm going to write an Excel formula for to solve them. I'll go and start with the one here on the left. It says 40 plus 2 equals. Now, if I was to write this out on a piece of paper, or if I was to type this in a calculator to solve for it, I probably would write it out the same way that I see here. However, in Excel, we need to start backwards. We always start with the equal sign first. And the equal sign lets Excel know that we're about to make some kind of calculation that we want it to solve for. And now I'll just type it out how I see the rest of it, 40 plus 2. And I'll hit enter. And there we go, 42. Now let me go ahead and delete this equation here. Now, so you saw that I typed out a formula here in cell A2 and I got my answer 42, but now I don't see the formula itself. So what if I came back to this workbook, let's say 2 days later, or 2 months, or 2 years later, and I want to know what the formula was? Maybe I forgot. Was it 84 divided by 2? Was it 43 minus 1? I'm not quite sure. So the way to see the underlying formula, there are a few ways to do that. One is I could simply click on the cell here, and if I go to the formula bar up top here, it'll show me what the underlying formula is. And if I click up here into the formula bar, you'll see that it shows or reveals it in the cell itself. But from the formula bar, I can also change the formula. I can backspace that out, change it to 40 plus 5 and hit enter and get my new answer there. Now, another way I can see the underlying formula is instead of clicking on this cell and then going to the formula bar, is I could simply just double click into the cell 1, 2, and there's my underlying formula. And I can also change it from here as well. So maybe I'll change it back to 40 plus 2 and hit enter. All right, let me go ahead and calculate the rest of these that we have here. Again, I have to start with that equal sign. So equals 40 minus 2, and I'll hit enter. And the answer to that is 38. All right, the next one over, equal sign, 40. And one thing about this is there's actually no multiplication sign on the keyboard. So I have to substitute it with the asterisk. And I do that by using Shift and the number 8. Now, if you have a number pad or a keypad off to the right side of your keyboard, the asterisk will be at the top of that number pad. All right, 40 times 2, and I'll hit enter. And I get the answer there, 80. And my final one here, 40 divided by 2, I'll start off with that equal sign. And just like the multiplication sign, there is no division sign on the keyboard. So I need to substitute that with the forward slash. And the forward slash is by your right shift key. And again, if you have a number pad or a keypad off to the right, it would be on there as well. But I have 40 divided by 2, and I'll hit enter, and my answer there is 20. So the key things to pull from this section is that 1, we always start with the equal sign, and then we have our math operators, plus, minus, multiply with Shift and the number 8 to get the asterisk, and then to divide, we have to use the forward slash on our keyboard, and again, that's by the right shift key where your question mark is. And then if I want to see any underlying formulas, I can either click on the cell and check out the formula bar right above, or I can double click into the cell to see the underlying formula. And either way, I can change it as well. Okay, let me go ahead and introduce a couple of other concepts when writing an Excel formula. I have another worksheet down here. It's the grocery list, so I'll go ahead and click here. And here I have a shopping list where I want to purchase a number of different fruits. And for this list, I want to calculate the line item total for each fruit. And then down towards the bottom, I want a grand total. So I want to add up all of the line item totals. And then maybe I want to calculate for a percentage discount as well. So let me go ahead and start with the total for the apples. Now in the previous sheet, I created formulas by typing out actual numbers here. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for these apples, but I do want to show you a better way to write formulas. So remember, I have to start out with the equal sign. And here I know that if I want the total for these apples, I will need to multiply the price, $1.99, times the quantity, 3. So I want to take the price of the apples and multiply by how many I'm going to buy, and I'll get my total. So here I'll type out $1.99. And I want to multiply, so remember that shift in the number 8 and times 3 there. Okay, I'll hit enter and I'll get the answer, $5.97 there. All right, so let me move on to these bananas. Start off with the equal sign. And so a better way to write Excel formulas is to use what we call cell references. And what I mean by that is for the price of these bananas, instead of typing out 50 cents, I want to type out the cell location instead. And for the price of these bananas, that would be cell B3. And I know that because it's located in column B and row 3 here. And where those two intersect, we have the 50 cents here. So I'll just type out B3. And notice it turns blue here. And that's going to correspond with the cell reference that I typed out over here. All right, so I want to take the 50 cents or cell B3, and I want to multiply that by the quantity, then that's located in cell C3. So I'll type out C3 there. And again, you'll notice this one turns red to correspond with this cell reference over here. I'll hit enter and I'll get my answer, $2. Now, there are a couple of other ways to put in the cell location. I'll show you those as well. So I'll start with the equal sign here. Now, instead of typing out a cell reference, I can simply use my arrow keys on my keyboard in the lower right corner, and I'll hit the left arrow key twice, and that will select cell B4 there. And I want to take that number and I want to multiply it by the quantity here. And I'll hit the left arrow key once to select it. And then I'll hit enter for this one to get my answer. The last way I can use a cell reference is I can simply just click on the cell itself. And notice there now it says B5. And I'll multiply that by cell C5, which is where the quantity is located. What we're saying with these cell references, I want Excel to take whatever number is in cell B5 and multiply by whatever number is in cell C5. So that is an important concept, and we'll go over that here in a couple seconds. I'll go ahead and hit enter to finish this, and I have my answer there, $5. So I showed you writing an Excel formula, typing out actual numbers like we did with the apples, versus the cell references, which we did with these other fruits here. Now, you probably noticed that we got the same answer no matter which way we used. So what is the advantage of using cell references? It's a great question, and let me show why. So let's say that these prices were good and valid for today. Now I'm 24 hours ahead and I'm at the store, but let's say overnight, breaking news. There's a disease out there and it's destroying all the apples and all the bananas, and now there is a shortage of both of those fruits. So the prices have skyrocketed. Bananas are now $25 a pound. Apples are now $20 a pound. So the prices need to be updated on this sheet. Let me go ahead and start with these bananas and I'll update it to $25 a pound. And I'll hit enter there. And notice that it recalculates here. So it's now $100. $25 times 4 equals $100. I'll go ahead and update the price of the apples here. Now they're $20. And I'll hit enter. But notice here, the total for the apples did not update. So let me go ahead and look at the underlying formulas for both of these. I'll start with the bananas again, and I'll double click there. So I can see here that we typed out B3 times C3 here. So again, remember, What I'm saying here is I want to take whatever number is in cell B3 and multiply by whatever number is here in cell C3. So if either of these numbers change, that means the total is going to have to change as well. And Excel will recalculate it for us. All right, let me get out of there. Now, let me look at the total for these apples here. And when I double click on this, remember that we typed out $1.99 times 3. So Excel doesn't care if the price of these apples change or if I change how many I want to buy. It is always going to be and always going to calculate $1.99 times 3, no matter what, because that's what I typed in. And that's why cell references are better to use in Excel formulas, because it would be double the work if I had to change the price of the apples here, and then I have to go back and change the price here in the formula. So let me go ahead and clean this up here and use cell references. So I'll backspace that out. I'll take cell B2 and multiply it by cell C2 here. There's the new answer, $60. And now that I've used cell references here, that means I can change these. So maybe I only want to buy one apple. So then it recalculates it there. And then I also maybe want to buy more bananas. Maybe I think I can flip them on the market because this price is probably going to go up in the future. So I want to try to buy more and flip some on the market. So maybe I'll buy 10 pounds of those instead. And I'll recalculate here. So let me go ahead and continue calculating out the totals for the rest of the fruits here. Now, technically, we know the formulas for each one here. For the strawberries, I could click here and go ahead and hit equals and then multiply out B6 times C6. Let's say that we had 50 fruit, 100 fruit, 1,000 fruit, 10,000. We don't want to sit here and type out equals B7 times C7 equals B100 times C100 equals B10,000 times C10,000. So we want to use something called fill to copy the formula and save us some time instead. Now, to do this, first I'm going to click on the total for the blueberries here. So we do need to have one formula already written out the way we want it to go. Now, once we have that, if you look in the lower right corner of this cell, so I have the cell selected here, there's a border around it, but in the lower right corner, there's a little box there. And if I place my cursor right on top of it, I'll notice that I get this narrow plus sign here. Now, it is finicky, so you have to have it right on the lower right corner here. Now, once I have it here, I can click and drag this down to the pineapples. And when I let go, it will copy that formula or copy the pattern of that formula all the way down to the pineapples. All right, let me go ahead and calculate the total for this here, the total damage to our wallet. Now here again, I do know the formula. I could type out equals D2 plus D3 plus D4 plus D5 plus D6 plus D7 plus D8 plus D9, and then I would get a total here. But again, if I had 10,000 different fruits to purchase, I don't want to sit here and type out equals D10 plus D11 and so forth. So Excel has what are called functions, and you can think of functions as built-in formulas in Excel. Now, there are hundreds of formulas, but there are also some common ones that most people use. And one of those is the AutoSum function, which you can find in the ribbon. So if I move my mouse up into the ribbon and more towards the right, I'll see the AutoSum function here. And when I click on it, you'll notice that it now says sum D2 to D10 in the cell. And there's also a box drawn around the numbers it will sum or add up. Now, Excel is pretty good at predicting what I want to sum up. But if for some reason this is not the set of numbers I want to add up, maybe it's this set over here, I can click and drag to select this set. But I'll go ahead and return it back to these numbers here. Now all I have to do is hit enter on my keyboard and I'll get the answer there. Again, there are hundreds of functions in Excel. Now there are some other common functions in Excel other than AutoSum. If I go back into the ribbon where the AutoSum function was, I'll notice that there is a drop-down menu here. And when I click on it, I'll see other common functions here. So there's average, where I could find the average line item total. We have count numbers, and that'll count how many numbers are there. Maximum, which would return to me the highest value in the set of numbers. And minimum, which would return to me the lowest value in a set of numbers. And then we also have more functions where I can look at, again, all the other hundreds of Excel functions that are built in. Now let me go ahead and show you how to write a formula to get a percentage discount. Let's say at this store we get a 20% discount. So I'll go ahead and click here in this cell and type out 20%. So I'm going to write a formula to take this total here and multiply it by 80%. So again, I'll start with the equal sign, and I'll go ahead and click on the total here. And I need to multiply it by 80%. So the way I'll do this is I'll go ahead and put in the multiply sign, and then I've got to use parentheses for my order of operations here. I'll type in 1, and you can think of the 1 here as a stand-in for 100%, but it'll be 1 minus 20%. And I'll go ahead and close the parentheses there, hit enter, and the answer there is $249 after a 20% discount off of the total. Now, if instead I wanted to calculate an increase, a percentage increase in the total, maybe I will change this to be a 20% tax. Let me go ahead and go back into the underlying formula here. So the only thing I would change here is instead of multiplying the total by 80% here, I need to add this. So it would be 1 plus the 20%. And I'll go ahead and hit enter. And there's my answer. So after a 20% tax, the total would be $373. So that is it for basic formulas and functions in Excel. We learned how to type out a basic formula with the different math operations. We also learned about how to use cell references and why to use cell references when writing a basic Excel formula. And we also talked about using fill to copy a formula down to save us time. And we talked about functions and how they can be used, and also how to write a formula to calculate a percentage increase or decrease in a number. We also have some resources on our website. You can go to www.jaxpubliclibrary.org and check out our lynda.com resource to find in-depth courses about Excel. Make sure you also check out our computer classes that we offer, and you can find those on our website as well. Thanks for watching.